योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिमानतोऽस्मि। लये सम्बोधयेच्चित्तं विक्षिप्तं शमयेत् पुनः सकाशायं विजानीयात् समप्राप्तं न चालयेत्। Om. We are studying the Ashtanga Yoga part, and then we also saw that why we should do Ashtanga Yoga, because Ashtanga Yoga is the means to get Viveka Khyati. So the ultimate goal we should not forget while we are thinking about each limb of the Ashtanga, whether we do pranayama, whether we do asana or whatever we are doing, that basically we should not forget the end product. The end product is we must get Viveka Khyati. So what exactly is this Viveka Khyati? Khyati means knowledge. Viveka means discrimination. So until such time a perfect discriminative knowledge is obtained, the practice of Ashtanga Yoga should continue. And for that also systematized thinking has been presented in the scripture. You start from yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. And another thing is, it is not just a sequential practice. You start with yama and then you progress to niyama and forget about yama, and then go to asana and forget about yama niyama. That's not the structure. The structure is we understand the Ashtanga Yoga and practice all of them simultaneously. Not only practice all of them simultaneously, even the making of yamas, niyamas, etc. also has to be practiced. For example, whether it is ahimsa, satya, steya, shaucha, indriya nigraha, all of those things are components of yama niyama. But even those components of yama niyama should continue to function even when a person is in samadhi state. So then only we have achieved the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga. And we also saw that the yamas are ahimsa, satya, steya and aparigraha. And I belabored quite a bit on the point that all of them independently and together constitute a person's own discipline. So we cannot say I am only going to practice ahimsa and then I am not interested in satyam, or I am going to practice non-stealing. Of course, because we don't need to steal anything. God has given us enough. So I am going to practice non-stealing as steya, but I am not worried. I don't care about ahimsa or brahmacharya. Then the whole project fails. So all of these things should happen simultaneously and hand in hand it should happen. So what does it mean? What it means is that it is not something that we practice for half an hour or 45 minutes when we sit for a puja in the morning or in the evening. This has to be done by everyone, and it's also not exclusively for a particular class of people. Okay, here is a priest, and the duty of the priest is that he should do every day puja or sandhya vandana or some of the things. No. It is applicable to everyone. Hindu, Christian, Muslim and no denomination, atheist, everybody. So it has to be followed by everyone. It has to be adarpis jati. That's what the technical term used in the text. And it must be done everywhere. There is no place where we should say this is not the place to practice. That is desha. And always it is also kala. Similarly, the niyamas, that is maintenance of absolute purity, not only physical purity but also the intellectual and the emotional purity, and that shaucha, and the attitude of adequacy. Santosha is an attitude of adequacy. I am fine as to how I am. I am absolutely comfortable in whatever state I am. This is a trupti, but the trupti doesn't mean that it takes away our ambition of growing. So at this point of time, what I have is trupti. And then you couple that with yamaniyama, asana, pranayama, you couple that with ahimsa, then what happens? This trupti leads to the next phase of our progress, whether it is material or whether it is spiritual progress. And in that state, you gain trupti. And then you grow to the next level. And in that phase, you grow trupti. You develop trupti. Thus, santosha also is, even in the process of our growth, even in the process of our betterment, even there, at every stage, we experience trupti. That is santosha. And then this is possible only when there is study of the self in particular. In addition to study of the scripture, it is a study of the self. Who am I? Where am I coming from? What is this purpose of life? What is the use of the world? Why am I given all these abilities? And how should I use that? And all those things, sitting and contemplating, is swadhyaya. And of course, it also has to be followed by Ishvara Pranidhana. Just as in the yamas, ahimsa, satya, asteya are mutually dependent, similarly, shaucha, santosha, tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana are also mutually dependent. Look at the beautiful architecture. Yama cannot be practiced without niyama. And niyama will fail if there is no yama. And within yama, all the 5 components have to be present for success. Within niyama, all the 5 components have to be there. All the 5 components of niyama are required for all the 5 components of yama. Thus, there is quite an intricate web of values when we take up all the 10 qualities of yama niyama of both of these. But at the same time, there can also be a lot of challenges. This challenge we looked at in the last class, which is vitarka. And these challenges may arise out of my own shortfall, or it can be because of someone else's pressure, which we call as karita. And thirdly, it can also be to get approval from somebody. I'm having a particular lifestyle and somebody thinks I must change my lifestyle into a different way. They will say, why are you so satisfied? You are stagnant. You have got to grow. You have made $1 million. You must make it 2 million. You must make it 10 million. Like that, the pressures also will come. And in that pressure of the society or somebody whose influence is pretty keen on us, in those circumstances, what do? We may lose santosha. So how do we balance that? Therefore, whether we hear for somebody else or whether we are self-inspired, we have to build a filter, and that filter is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. And that Pratipaksha Bhavana is driven by Viveka. So what is that Viveka? What is that discriminative knowledge? That discriminative knowledge is the next step, the next aspect I am going to walk into. What is the potential for dukkha and the potential for creating ajnana? So that question we have to ask. Every time we ask that question, okay, I'm taking this particular leap, this project I am taking, and if in this, how much of dukkha possibility is there, how much of ajnana possibility is there, and that contemplation is vitarka. And the one which actually gives us the true skill for vitarka is truth. That is why the Yoga Shastra says, Satya Pratisthayam Kriya Phalashrayatvam. Kriya Phalashrayatvam means our attitude and what actions we take is the foundation on which whether we get dukkha, ajnana or not is determined. So if the foundation should not be shaky, then it must be based on satya. Everything must be based on satya. And that satya manifests itself as dharma. And satya is supported by the concept called rita. Rita means there is a universal order. So we must be in keeping with that universal order. So Satya, Rita, Dharma, or Rita, Satya, Dharma in that order is the essence of the practice of Yama-Niyamas. So that is why we looked at the story of Satyavan and Savitri. So in Satyavan Savitri's story, then what happened here is Satyavan, it was very clearly known to Savitri that he is short-lived. Now here is the Satya Pratishtha of Savitri. Savitri tells her father, Ashwapati, I am going to choose my own husband. It's pre-Mahabharata days. So what wonder is there when in today's time our children come and say, I want to choose whom I marry. So Savitri goes to her father and then says, I want to find a boy for myself. And look at the confidence that Ashwapati has in her daughter, because he has seen her quality. So he knows that his daughter will not do wrong, because she has shown in Yama Niyama throughout her life, even at childhood, of what a disciplined person she is. So there was no doubt in the mind of Ashwapati that she will make a good choice. Then she says, okay, you can go and do it. If you look at the Upakhana, no lecturing for the all right, you are going to choose a boy for yourself. You know what is our home, our culture of the house. You know this is a royal household. You must select the right person, so on and on and on. Isn't that what a parent would be lecturing their child? Sure, you are free to choose whom you want, but then here are the conditions of finding the right person who fits into the family. For a person who is Satya Pratisthayam, you don't have to tell even that. So that the ability to even evaluate his own daughter, Ashwapati had perfected. Because not only he was taking care of the nation, he was also keenly following how his daughter is blossoming. How can he do that? Unless there is absolute open communication between parent and child. Lot of times, whether our daughter or son is dating a boy or a girl is known much later. The child's friends will know whom the child is dating, right? Parents come to know later. Why is that? It is because communication between the various members of the family is not based on ahimsa, satya, and then aparigraha, etc. Now you see how critical it is. When the parent is confident that my child has got yamadama, has got yamaniyama, and the child looks at the parent and say, my parent has got yamaniyama, and especially Satya Pratishtha is there, one of the indicators that such a thing is there has been no barriers to communication whatsoever. So that was a lovely relationship between Ashwati and Savitri. So she goes and selects Satyavan. And when she selects Satyavan and says, I want to marry you, after that everybody comes to know that he is short-lived. Now, if Savitri was not in Satya Pratishtha, in that commitment, what would she have done? What would Ashwapati do? No, this person is very short-lived. He is not. In fact, the prediction was that he will live only for 3 days after marriage. If it is 30 years, okay, we will take a chance. It's only 3 years, 3 days. Which parent will allow that to happen? Which bride would actually commit to such a relationship if it is known that the person she is going to marry is so short-lived? Just 3 days. But Savitri, Satya Pratishtha, I have given the word. So that is half the sutra. The next half of the sutra is Kriyapalashrayatvam. When a person is established in absolute Satya Pratishtha, even fate can be changed. This is not fiction. That is what has happened in the world, isn't it? It has to happen. It depends on how firm is the commitment. And therefore you see, Satyavan, as predicted, dies 3 days later. Now, Satya Pratishtha of Savitri is not limited to say, I am going to get married in spite of this person being short-lived. It went beyond that. That going beyond is, I am going to enliven my husband. And I am going to get into a negotiation, into a conversation with Yama himself. You know, the very interesting thing about that story is, usually Yamadutas will come to take away some low employee of Yama will come to take their life. But here, the boss himself comes. This story is very well known. It is an extraordinary illustration of Satya Pratisthayam Kriya Phalashrayatvam. That means the dramatization of the value and the importance of Satya Pratishtha, and therefore that has got to be supported. Satya supports Ahimsa, Ahimsa supports Satya. The next sutra, Asteya Pratisthayam Sarvaratnopasthanam. When non-stealing or non-appropriation is there, Sarvaratnopasthanam means every wealth will come to that person. Please note, this is not material wealth only. Let us go back to the example of Satyavan Savitri story. That's a very beautiful upakhana of Mahabharata. Now, she has succeeded in getting back her husband's life. But that was not enough. Sarvaratnopasthanam, that is, all wealth has to come back to her. Only one part of the wealth has come, that is her husband's life. But her father-in-law is blind. And because of that, he has lost the kingdom. Her father has lost the kingdom. And 2 more ratnas, that is the peace of mind of my father-in-law and my father, I have not yet got. And therefore she asks Yama, give my father-in-law his eyesight. Give my father back his kingdom. Isn't this exactly the same thing that happens in Kathopanishad also? in the conversation between Nachiketa and Yama. Look at the order in which Savitri asked the boon. Let my father-in-law get eyesight. 1. Let my father get back his kingdom. Then she says, I want 100 children. And traps Yama to revive her husband. She will not ask, revive my husband's life. That means you ask for a favor to the most distant person. So, Savitri asks, father-in-law, when did he become father-in-law? 3 days back. When did Ashwapati become father? The day she was born. So she asked for the eyesight of her father-in-law first. Yama grants Nachiketa the boon of saying that my father, let him not be scared when I go back. Let his anger be appeased. Then the farthest benefit he asks is, please teach a yajna by which people can be happy. The most distant, non-related entities for Nachiketa was the unknown population. For that unknown population, he says, give us a yajna, a Nachiketa Agni, so that people can worship and they can be happy in their lives. Then make my father comfortable. Then only he asks, give me Atmajnana. Who can do that? Unless that person is established in Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, in everything. Who can do that unless a person can express Ahimsa through Asteya? Non-appropriation is an expression of a person's commitment to non-violence and to truth. Please think of this. It is not just I am following law, saying that, I should not take somebody else's property. I will not take somebody else's property because if I do, then I will be actually committing himsa and then asatyam. But that is not enough. Now we come to Brahmacharya Pratisthayam Virya Labha, the next Sutra 38. Brahmacharya is not mere celibacy. It is Brahma means knowledge. Charya means always moving about in the realm of knowledge. Brahmacharya Pratisthayam also indicates a control of our desire on all sensuous objects whatsoever. Control on desire. Please, every word is to be noted carefully. It doesn't mean you should not desire. It doesn't mean you should not acquire. What it means is there should be a control on this desire. And then, how can we get control? Practically. It is possible only when two things are there. We must survey around what we have. And as we are surveying around us what we have got to say, is this enough for me? Is this adequate? If all this is adequate, then why do I want more? That question will have to be asked. Now you couple that with the Satya, Ahimsa, and etc. Then what happens? I want to acquire these more things for the sake of the progress of my spirituality, the role modeling that I can do for the society. For those things I want this, including knowledge. Please think about it, including knowledge. Otherwise we don't need knowledge. Why should Nachiketa ask for Atmajnana? And why should that asking for Atmajnana and the granting of Atmajnana by Yama should be recorded for posterity in Kathopanishad? Why should it be done? Why not we just say it's a private transaction between Yama and Nachiketa? Nachiketa asked for Atmajnana, Yama gave the Atmajnana, end of the subject. It can become a small footnote in the history of man. Instead of that, what did Kathopanishad become? It became a ratna, a jewel in spiritual thought. And that was possible because what the desire of Nachiketa, that desire of Nachiketa became a boon for the entire posterity. That is how the brahmacharya is actually, that is any attachment to the sensual acquisitions. Please note that buddhi is also one of the senses. Intellect is one of the senses. And all the studies we are doing is to enrich our buddhi. It's a sensual acquisition. And that sensual acquisition is brahmacharya, and that brahmacharya is possible only when there is ahimsa, satya, asteya. That's the quality of brahmacharya. Otherwise, usually most of the commentaries will only say you got control on your sexual desires. That's why you change the word to say sensual desires. Because it is not just sexual, it includes even our intellect. Even there we can abuse. Brahmacharya can be abused even intellectually. And that's what you see every day it is happening. So brahmacharya is also a consideration and sensitivity to others. That's another important point about brahmacharya. That sensitivity for the feelings, emotions and needs of others. And this can happen only when we are established in aparigraha, and therefore sequentially in Sutra number 39, Patanjali Maharshi says, aparigraha sthairye janma katham ta sambodha. Constant question that we ask is, why have I taken birth? What is the purpose of this life? Yes, I was born, I got educated, I got job, I got married, I got children. Tatakim, tatakim. What next? What next? What next? And then once that all those things are completed, then a man despairs because he has no next. So here, aparigraha sthairye, when total non-possessive things are there, when the desires for things for selfishness is totally uprooted, then what happens? The person knows why I have taken birth. Classic example. Shurpanaka comes. Shurpanaka actually comes because she's straying there, she has been going about, and she suddenly sees this very handsome, young, excellent, youthful brothers. And he looks at the beautiful, and she looks at the beautiful Sita, and then she becomes very jealous of her. So there are two men, and there is one woman. Remember, she is a Rakshasi. So she changes herself into a very, very beautiful woman. And the more handsome of the two is Rama. So she approaches Rama, and Rama says, well, I am already married here. She is my wife. Oh, is that right? Okay. Let me eat her so that she won't be in your way. And then you get married to me. So how do you divert this situation? Because she could. And she could easily eat Sita, that's it. So Rama plays a little bit of a mischief there. He says, I already have a wife. So why don't you just go get married to Lakshmana? He is alone. If Shurpanaka was practicing aparigraha, that is other than the parigraha of Rama, I don't want anybody else, what would have been the story? For her, she doesn't bother who, that is all. There are two handsome men, any one of them is okay for me. So she goes to Lakshmana. And of course, you know very well, Lakshmana is so well rooted, aparigraha sthairye, janma katham tha sambodha. He is perfectly established in aparigraha. If he was so attached to his wife, probably she would have brought her too. If it is not 3, why not 4? And it was logical that Rama has brought his wife, Lakshmana can bring his wife. Janma kathanta sambodha is the key here. Janma kathanta sambodha means I know the purpose of my life. Hanuman knows the purpose of his life. Krishna knows the purpose of his life, therefore he did not become a king anywhere. He only made kings. And then Rama did not annex Lanka, remember? He won over Ravana, but he did not annex. Do you think it would have been against Dharma if he did? He could have made Sugriva a vassal of Rama, and he could have actually ruled the whole of Aryavarta. Because either by treaty for people like Guha and the support of all the rishis everywhere, and by killing Vali and giving back the kingdom to Sugriva can become his Samanta, Vibhishana can become his Samanta, and then Ahimalaya Samudra Paryantam, as normally they say, Ahimalaya Samudra Paryantam, Rama could have been an emperor. Since he was practicing aparigraha, Janmakatantha Sambodha was there. What is the purpose of my taking my birth was there? It is Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So you can say when Dharma Samsthapana was the Janma Kathanta or the purpose of life, where is the question of greed? Where is the question of parigraha? Is that not the path of every human being? So what is the purpose of my life? It can be discovered only when all these qualities, aparigraha is also there. So we got all these 5 values. Sari, you had a question?
Yeah, I did have a question. There's a little bit of a chicken and egg story here, right? Aparigraha leads to Janmakatanta Sampoda, or Janmakatanta Sampoda leads to Aparigraha. So the way we explained it, so...
Yes.
The way Patanjali says it seems to be sequential, but I was thinking...
Sure. But we must look at the development of the philosophy here. We have achieved yama. When we have achieved all the yama, then Janmakatanta Sambodha will happen and a person establishes an aparigraha sthairya. Because of ahimsa, asteya, satya, the person is already in aparigraha because he has no need to grab anything. And in that state, Janmakatanta Sambodha also will be there. And even in the sequence of Ramayana itself, he has already practiced aparigraha by accepting to go to the forest. Even though legally he could have simply said, my father is insane. Because the father himself says, declare me insane and then you become a king. Or like the many instances we have got, he could have just sent Dasharatha to Fatehpur Sikri and then put him in that small room, and then if he wants, he can build a Taj Mahal and look at it through the window. He could have done it. So aparigraha was already there, and aparigraha will develop into Janmakatanta when there is thairya. So the key word there is thairya. Everybody has got, in some relative quality, aparigraha is there. If aparigraha was not there, we will not even educate our children. We will not even feed them. Isn't it? If total parigraha, total selfishness is there, and that we have seen in quite a few dysfunctional families, alcoholic families, drug addicts, do they take care of their family at all? In fact, they are ready to actually even kill a member of the family if they can get a few dollars so that they can go and get a drug. So
the question I was having is there an implication here that one would discover a greater purpose for life?
That too.
Right, because of having given up a lot of things that one doesn't hang on to.
Yeah.
Now the mind expands, and there is, because of aparigraha thairya, now there is a discovery of a much greater purpose for life.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking, because we put it sequentially, is that implied in what you're saying?
It is because look at the word santosha.
Yeah.
So santosha is samyak tushyati iti santosha, right? So when I am comfortable, when I am absolutely satisfied in my state as I am, then what happens? You get a higher purpose. So santosha is an expression of aparigraha thairya. So when aparigraha has become so rooted, so deeply rooted, then the highest purpose of life is, why even higher?
Yeah. I'll think of Buddha, for example. Mm-hmm. So Gautama Buddha had the option to stay and become an emperor. Absolutely. And stay with his family, and he gave up and walked away.
Yeah.
And what came to him was a realization for a greater purpose. Like he wanted to remove the dukkha from everybody. Sure. He never had that goal until he got to that place.
True. I mean, so also you can see, Rama really discovers the highest purpose of his life. In the beginning, if you see Ramayana, for Rama, the only thing is, I will never disobey my father. That was all. But the value that I will never disobey my father morphed into Dharma Samastapana. Because in the case of Ramavatara, he doesn't know that he is the scripture is so designed that he never said I am an avatara. Atmanam manamam viddhi. Consider that I am a human being. Point well taken, Hari. What it is aparigraha sthairya janmakatanta sambodha. The key point is sthairya is there, that absolute stability. When that absolute stability comes from ahimsa, steya, shaucha, indriya nigraha, brahmacharya and all that, this stairya will come. And when that stairya will come, then what happens? The janmakatamta sambodaha. Janmakatamta sambodaha is twofold. One is, what should I do in future? Second thing is, why did I take birth? Katham janma bhuyat, katham janma bhavati. How did this janma come to me? That is also a question, right? Janma katanta means. Yeah. If you look at the grammar, how did I take birth? I took birth because of a series of activities that has happened from the beginning of the time, and that contemplation can come only when there is no possessiveness, or when there is no craving, for which we are not worked. Parigraha is for which we are not worked for it. It should simply come, I want an inheritance, that's all. Then comes to the next one is another supporting value we need is purity. Shauchat swanga jugupsa paraihi asamsargaha. Here also we have to go a little deeper in our thinking. It is not just shauchat swanga jugupsa. By means of continuously cleansing ourselves, we actually discover how unclean is our body. Swa anga jigupsa. How unclean is our body is one realization. Paraihi asamsargaha, that is by means of contact with others also we are going to be incorporating some amount of ashuchi. So this is a very surface meaning of that. There is something deeper than that. Shaucha is an examination of how our sense organs are behaving. Our sense organs, on contemplation on the behavior of our sense organs, we develop a rational outlook about our own senses. Questioning, I have eyesight. Why is it I am seeing that which can be seen and it which should not be seen also? Why am I seeing that? Why am I listening to things that I should not listen and things that I should listen? And why is it? Because we are talking about chittavritti. Again, we should not forget the context. Everything that we see, we hear, is going to create a chittavritti. And as we discussed in the last class, we get trillions of chittavrittis in our lifetime. And of that, 80% of the chittavrittis are not wholesome. So if this is the case, how did these chittavrittis arise? It is because of the contact with the world. What are the windows to the contact with the world? It is my swa angaha. So for this commentary, what is the basis for me to speak? There is a story in the Chandogya Upanishad called the Udgita Brahmana. In the Udgita Brahmana, what happens? The Devas and the Asuras, gods and both the gods and the Asuras had a very easy access to the creator Prajapati. Unfortunately, we have distanced ourselves from Prajapati so much that he is not accessible to us, unfortunately, to talk to him. If you look at all the Purana stories, all the stories in the Upanishads, Devas and Asuras go and talk to Prajapati. Nowhere it is said a Manushya goes and talks to Prajapati. Look at our condition. We have to understand the ideas of Prajapati either through a Rakshasa or through a Devata. Second-hand information. So Devatas and Asuras, they go to Prajapati, and then they say that, Sir, please teach us meditation. Please teach us how to do meditation. Then Prajapati says, you meditate upon Ekakshara Udgita. Udgita, Ud means loud, high-pitched, lofty. Gita means singing. Loudly chant Ekakshara, one syllable, which is Om. And with that power, then what you do with this Udgita, go find out what is the value of the world, what is the value of your body. Go into a deep penetration by using the syllable Om. So he gives the Om as the basis for meditation. Whenever we do meditation, a very important prerequisite is what is the intention. Because intention drives the quality of meditation. Mantra can be given to anybody, but the intention with which the mantra is used determines the outcome, determines the understanding, determines the result. Same mantra is used by Rakshasas to get powers. And you become a Ravana, when a person becomes Hiranyakashipu, a person becomes Hiranyaksha. And the same meditation makes a person a Rishi too also. So intention becomes important, and Prajapati says you do tapas, but he did not give any caveat. He did not instruct you have got to do Yamaniyama. So the Devatas and the Asuras started meditating. And the Devatas are, by the very definition, they are noble. Asuras, by the very definition, are interested only in the body. And we have to start with the known. So both of them meditated upon the breath in the nose, as you breathe in and as you breathe out, using Om. As they were breathing, what the Asuras did was, they interjected the meditation by their Udgita, by their chanting of the Om, and therefore, when we smell both fragrance and stench. Why is it we cannot selectively smell? It is because of this tapas done by the Asuras by injecting the sense of evil into our smelling. Then, therefore, we smell both fragrance and also, that is not a big deal. It's okay. We can walk away from stench and then be in sweet smelling places. Next that happened was speech. With Om, the Devatas started meditating on speech, on walk. Then the Asuras attacked the meditation of Devatas. And therefore our speech became either wholesome or unwholesome. We do Upanayana for our children. Unfortunately, the priests don't teach these things to our boys or girls when we initiate. After the Upanayana is done, the teacher, in this case the father, he instructs the student, that is his son, in the course of your life, you will hear good words and you will hear bad words. And the student will say, Ninda chame, aninda chame. I will hear both. And he says, I will reject the ninda and I will expose aninda. That, when does that promise come? In the Upanayana, which is embracing brahmacharya. So look, brahmacharya pratishtha is an aparigraha of evil. And then the eyes sees good, and good sights are seen, unsightly is seen. The ears hear what is wholesome, what is not wholesome. And the initiate in the Upanayana will say, Shrutancha me, Ashrutancha me. A beautiful section of the ritual of Upanayana. So far, we can identify. I can identify foul smell from fragrance. I can identify bad speech from good speech. Now let's come to mind. When the Devatas were contemplating with the Udgita on the mind, the Asuras shot their weapon. And therefore, in the mind we imagine what should be imagined, and we also imagine what should not be imagined. This is of such profound importance, because what is fear? The primordial human problem, fear. Isn't fear always related to future? Am I afraid of the past? Nor am I afraid of the present at this moment. At this very moment, I have no fear about this moment. But this moment I have a fear about next moment. This moment I have a fear about tomorrow, 10 years from now. So how have we lived all our lives? We have all our lives lived only with the mind, isn't it? That's why I am called man, the thinking animal. And every moment, what have these asuras done? By using Udgita, they have introduced into my mind evil. Because of my meditation on Udgita, my mind also has noble thoughts. But when ahimsa, satya, asteya, shaucham, brahmacharya, all of these are practiced, then what happens? I am cleansing this mind. And how can I cleanse? What is the source for this cleansing? Upanishad continues. Then with the Udgita, the Devatas started contemplating on the Mukhya Prana. Mukhya Prana is the life force behind life force. And when they contemplated on that, the Asuras also tried to destroy the Mukhya Prana itself. If they had succeeded, then whatever we do, there would have been no yoga. There would have been no hope of a peace of mind. But then what happened was, when the Devatas were contemplating with Udgita Om on the Mukhya Prana, all the weapons thrown by the Asuras, beautiful metaphor the Upanishad gives, was like a lump of clay dashed against a rock. It was like a man banging his head on a rock to break the rock. What breaks? So where does Yamaniyama take us? Yamaniyama takes us to make us a very strong person. Mundakopanishad, that is why he says, Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. This stability is not accessible to one who is weak. So how is the person made strong? In the yoga discipline, Yama Niyamas make the person a strong person. Link this to Mundakopanishad mantra, Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. Only a very strong person can get. And not only that, there has to be some other conditions also that have to be fulfilled. Let me get the rest of the mantra. I just penciled in somewhere here. I'm sure Hari knows it by heart.
Sorry, I was distracted a bit.
From Mudaka. Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. Nacha pramada. Nacha pramada.
Medaya na Bhudanasudena, right?
Yeah, this is from the Mundakopanishad. Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha. It is not available by a weakling. Nacha pramada.
It also follows by saying na Medaya na Bhudanasudena.
No, that is one. The next mantra. Next mantra. The very next mantra. Nayamatma balahinena labhya. We are trying to make ourselves strong, right? The Yamaniyamas make a person very, very strong. Nacha pramadat. The person cannot become strong without earnestness. Nacha pramadat. Tapaso vapi alingat. See, we are talking about tapaswadhyaya ishvara pranidhana. Alinga means one which has not got a systematic way of doing it. Tapas cannot be sporadic. A systematic way of doing tapas is the next condition. Condition number 1, person has to be strong. How does the person become strong? By means of ahimsa, satya, steya, aparigraha, shaucha. How does a person avoid pramada? That means indifference or lack of enthusiasm. When there is no brahmacharya, when there is no aparigraha. And then tapaso vapi alingat. That is when there is no methodology in our doing tapas. I already gave one example of a systematic methodology of doing tapas. You go to Prajapati, he says you meditate upon Om. And when you meditate upon Om, first meditate upon your sense of smelling, then your sense of sight, then your sense of hearing, then come to the mind. And in each one of them discover the duality. And then go deeper. Who is the cognizer of the duality? That cognizer of the duality is also within us. And that is Mukhya Prana. And that Mukhya Prana cannot be destroyed. And therefore we start using the strength of the Mukhya Prana by means of this proper tapas. Yetai rupayaihi. With this methodology, when a person does, yatate strives, who? Vidwan, A learned person. Look at so many, such a beautiful statement. Vidwan tasyaiva atma vishate brahmadama. To him, the self takes him and lands him in the realm of knowledge. That is the standard that Patanjali Maharshi is establishing in Yama Niyama. And how does he consolidate it? Look at Sutra number 41. All that I talked about from the Udgita Brahmana of Chandogya Upanishad, of the Mundaka Upanishad, in simple terms, Patanjali Maharshi says in the next sutra, Sattva Shuddhi Saumanasya Aikagriya Indriya Jaya Atma Darshana Yogyata Necha. In this manner of tapas, in this manner of one's conduct, when the shaucha or purity is there, Sattva Shuddhi. What is Sattva Shuddhi? Cleansing will take place. What cleansing? I will reject ninda. I will reject misinformation. I will reject ajnana. Another term for viveka. And the other term for that used here is sattva shuddhi. More directly, sattva shuddhi is cleansing of the Ari Shadvargas. Ari means enemy, Shadvarga means 6 kinds. Varga means kinds. 6 kinds of enemies, which is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Kama is unholy desire, Kama. Krodha, rage and anger. Lobha, miserliness. Mada, arrogance, pride, vanity, vanity. Matsarya, envy. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. 6-fold. When they are absent or contained, then it becomes Sattva Shuddhi. So when we have this, Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya and all that, when this has this, what happens? Saumanasya happens. Su-manasaha means one who has got a good mind. One of the synonyms for Devata is Sumanas. If you look at the Amara Kosha, where it gives you all synonyms, Sumanasa is one who has got a good mind. So by means of contemplation on these qualities and practice of these qualities, what happened was Sattva Shuddhi. Sattva Shuddhi leads to a cleansed, harmonious mind, Saumanasyam, and it gives Aikagryam, or it focus and concentration. Please note that it is one of the desirable Chittavritti of the 5. And Ekagra is only one step away from Samadhi. It gives you Aikagram. Then of course mastery over all our sense organs, Indriya Jaya. And then all this again is dramatized in our everyday Sandhya Vandana. See, that's the beauty of our culture. In every act there is consistency. In Sandhya Vandana, what do? We stand up facing Surya. And then we take water in our cupped hand. And then we chant the Gayatri Mantra. After chanting the Gayatri Mantra, we will pour it down and say this is the Arghya. So there is the beautiful mantra describing this. Gayatrya-bhimukha sandhyaya Aditya-abhimukha sandhyaya Aditya-abhimukha, standing in front of Aditya, sandhyayam at the dawn and dusk. Abhimantrite ambhasa. Ambha means water. Ambhasa means water. Abhimantrite, the water that has been consecrated by Gayatri Mantra. And then you give the arghya. When you do, those Rakshasas who constantly, every time, every moment, they shoot their weapons so that we start smelling fragrance and stench because of them. We hear evil things because of them. We think of evil things or we're afraid of tomorrow because of them. Ta nirakshagam simande harune dvipe prakshipanti. This water becomes a weapon and throws them far away. But then that also we did with a little bit of kshatra. That means I want to neutralize and I'm going to take this water, use it as a weapon and throw this enemies. There also the mind has become a little polluted. So how do you make sure that is brought back to stability? Yat pradakshinam prakramanti. The person does atma pradakshina. He turns round in the same where he is standing and does namaskara. Tani papma namavadhunvanti. Even that is neutralized. All of this is Sattva Shuddhi. In Sandhya Vandana routine that many people do in the morning and in the evening, working for Sattva Shuddhi, doing the Udgita Brahmana, practicing Ashtanga Yoga, and getting one-pointed focus, Aikagriya, mastery over their sense organs, Indriya Jaya. And when all these things happen, the person is Atma Darshana Yogyata Siddhi. The person is ready to have a glimpse of the self. That is the way in which Patanjali Maharishi is building up the importance of the Ashtanga Yoga. We'll see more in the next class. Thank you.